I was there. You better believe it, I was there, and I'm still trying to figure out exactly what was going on. After the razzmatazz of him coming into the city on a donkey for heaven's sake, I still can't believe it, things went a bit quiet. There was still a buzz in the air, and you could tell the authorities were a bit on edge, and there were extra soldiers everywhere. They must have had all their leave cancelled. I bet that made their day. Serves them right. Anyway, me and my mates decided that the temple was probably the place to be. If anything was going to happen, it was more likely to be there. So we headed in that direction. Well, no sooner had we got within earshot of the place than we could hear that something must have kicked off already. Rats, we'd missed it. It was sure to involve him and his mates and the Roman authorities. After all, that's how revolutions begin, isn't it? Scuffles in the street, demonstrations, a bit of sabotage to mess up the wonderful Roman systems. It was bound to be one of those. So, we came round the corner and there was this big soldier standing there. I thought, yeah, we're going to see some action now. But he just stood there, looking across at the entrance to the temple. Just stood there. For a second I thought he'd frozen, not knowing what to do, but he wasn't. He was just standing there, looking, and you know what? He had a big grin on his face. Then I looked across, and there he was, the guy I'd seen on his donkey just a short while ago, this Jesus, coming out of the temple, and he looked mad. Not lost his temper mad, no, but really, really angry. There were crowds of people around him as he headed out. Some were shouting, some were just trying to keep others away from him. But boy, he wasn't happy, and neither were the money changers shouting after him. I don't know what got into me. I guess the grin made him look a little less intimidating, but I just went up to that soldier and I said, "Oi, what's going on?" No, "Excuse me, sir," like I'd normally do. It doesn't pay to upset a big guy with a huge sword at his side. No, I went straight up and asked him what was going on. For a second, I thought he was going to ignore me. He seemed intent on watching what was happening. But then he looked down at me. He was a big guy. And in a sarcastic sort of way, he said, "It's your chosen one." They say he just knocked 7 bells out of the money changers in the temple and told them to get out. Funniest thing I've ever heard. Here's you lot giving him a big parade, shouting how wonderful he is and how he's going to get us Romans out. And the first thing he does is give a kick into your own people. And he picks on the ones with the money. Big mistake. I was in a bit of shock hearing all that, I must admit, but he seemed to know what he was talking about. There were plenty of people around him telling him what had happened and shouting him to do something. Get over there. Arrest him. Tell him he shouldn't have done it. Tell him it's a perfectly legal trading enterprise. But no. He just stood there grinning, and he said, "He's your chosen one, your problem. If you want to sort him out, fill your boots, my son. Just don't cross into our territory. You're all still under Roman law, and there are ways and means to do it. So no lynch mobs, right?" And with that, he turned on his heels and walked off. Typical. My head was spinning, I can tell you. What on earth was happening? What he said couldn't be right, could it? It was all just Roman propaganda, just them putting their usual spin on things, wasn't it? Wasn't it? Anyway, I asked around, even went into the temple to see what I could see, and sure enough, there were tables and coins and cages and birds and feathers everywhere. Looked like my house after one of my infamous all-night parties, except for the money everywhere. What was going on? I honestly didn't have a clue. It all seemed so clear at the parade, but now I had no idea what it was all about. I was there, and I still couldn't figure it out. Yes, I was there.